everyone, Alexandra here. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a marketer, content creator, as well as online instructor. So, this is the reason why today we're actually going to look over how you can create your own micro learning courses with 7 tabs. So, the platform essentially helps pretty much anyone from, again, course creators to companies create micro learning paths. Specifically, I would recommend using this if you are, part of a company, maybe part of the HR team, or just anyone who wants to train their team. So let's say you are a marketing leader and want to instruct a junior content marketer, PPC expert, or whatever into maybe expanding their skills, reskilling, upskilling, anything like that. So technically, you could use the platform in any space, but it is directed towards professional, so to say. So while it might make sense to use it, for example, if you are a educational service provider, you could technically use it with students. However, I would say it's better suited for just the workspace, so to say. So the tool is very simple to use. All you have to do is ideally just start kind of thinking what types of courses you want to create so that you can create folders for these. So, for example, these are just going to be marketing courses or whatever. And in here, in the marketing courses folder, we're going to just create a new course. You do have some advanced options, which I really like with 7 tabs because you can have a mini course drafter that uses artificial intelligence. You also have the option to transform any kind of, let's say, PDF file or presentation you have into the course. So for this tutorial in particular, we are actually going to look at how we can transform one of my courses into a micro course. So in some of these courses, I do have downloadable resources. So technically, we could just pull these and start from there. But I'm going to start from scratch with this. Now, if you've used tools like Canva before or anything else that, by the way, you can find a tutorial for on my YouTube channel, any kind of design tool, any kind of drag and drop editor, this is essentially what this editor looks like. So everything is like super easy to use. You have here, as you can see with this number 1 here at the bottom marked, it's like the first slide or the cover of the course. With this module, so to say, we're just going to give it a title. Let me just pull from my own course so that we're not really, making the course as we're working on this. So this is going to be a simple hands-on content writing course. So let's say you want to just briefly teach your team how to write content. So for this scenario, let's imagine we want anyone on our marketing team to start contributing to our blog. So you're going to have to send this course, this micro learning course, to a product marketing manager or an SEO specialist who maybe hasn't done any writing in the past, and we want to instruct them on how we want them to do that. What tools they can use, what skills they need, as well as maybe what policies we have with our own company's policies in terms of marketing and writing. And we can make this fun. We can have a detail like learn how to write for our blog. It can be super simple like this. It can be customized. In here, you also have a logo option. I'm literally just going to add the logo from my newsletter for this, just so you can kind of visualize this. We're basically going to have the logo in here. You can customize this depending on the course, on the module, whatever. You can also have your brand in there, or you can just leave it out. Then you have the option to add an image. Again, this is literally just going to, let me just kind of show you an example like this, but it's going to place it in the background. So it's the background of the course. Remember that the reason you're using microlearning in the first place is to create an engaging and fun experience as opposed to, random courses or formal training. Now, everything you need next to keep adding cards to this is on the right side of the screen. So this is the menus you need essentially. If you go to card, it's just going to add as many cards in here as possible. So with each of these cards, I'm going to show you what type of content you can create. So the most basic one is just text. So you can have, again, I can pull from my own course. from an existing course or just from maybe you have a Google Docs with general brand guidelines or writing guidelines or whatever. You just put them in here. By the way, you can also use these micro learning courses as part of onboarding. So it doesn't have to be for teaching a skill. It can also have just the purpose of getting a new hire up to date with your company policies, with, what the typical day looks like at work and so on. So for this card in particular, I'm just going to add a quick tip. Something like don't rush when writing. And here I have the option to add in a couple of tips. And so below, we're going to add some more tips. Again, I'm literally just going to pull from my course here and write something like take the time to improve yourself, or we prioritize quality, whatever. You can use emojis in here. You can select everything as you can see and just change the formatting for this. So you have a bullet list, you can highlight certain words and so on. And there's also linking in here. For instance, you can add a link to a separate card just in case you want to redirect people to, a previous card or a different course. So maybe at the end of this quick course, you can be like, oh, you're done with the writing course. Now it's time to go and check out our brand guidelines. And that's going to be a different course. And then there's also a web page. So a web page is literally any kind of resource. It can be your website, it can be, a PDF you have somewhere else, it can be a YouTube video, it can be maybe an actual full course that somebody else offers, maybe some webinars, whatever. But just so you know, this option is here. So it's kind of like linking. You just select the word, you click on linking or branching, whatever you want, and that's going to be it. And then here at the bottom, you have your typical editing options I've just presented to you, including the images. And you also have the option to move the card around. So everything happens in here. Just duplicate it, delete it, or, whatever. Now, this is the cards. Cards are mostly text-based if you don't include the GIFs you can add and the images, because you can literally just duplicate this card, not write anything on it. So it's going to be like this. And then just add an image in the background. Let's say I'm just adding this for now. And you can leave it like this. So when you preview it, it's just going to be like this, so to say. So you can have an image as a standalone thing on the card. But if you want other types of content in this course, you need to go to the other options we have in here. Specifically, we have a quick quiz. So after, we have introduced some of the principles, you can have a question like, what's the number one rule for writing, right? And the answer choices are something like, don't rush, write by hand, or just like random things, use tools. I'm just kind of like adding some examples in here. And you can also add a comment in here. And basically this is going to look like this. It's literally a quiz. And then when people click on it, they will get which the right option is or not. And to choose the correct answer, you just need to select it here. So it's like super simple, super intuitive, nothing to worry about. Then we have videos. With this, you have the option to upload your video. So I have a quick video here. It's literally two florists from France just kind of showcasing their flowers on social media. And you can also use this for, displaying examples. It can also be just you talking, like I'm talking to you right now. So it can be the instructor kind of giving another tip. So if you want to, this entire micro learning path can be just video. So it can be, one video after another, just, shorter bits. And, it's the same thing as having them on YouTube, for instance. And then there's also the option to convert text to video. So I'm going to choose a speaker. Then I'm going to choose, the language I want. So let's be clear about this, 7 tabs does work for any language, obviously, and you actually have the voiceover as well. So for instance, we can just go for Bulgarian this time. I'm going to add in my text, aka the video script, and I'm going to click on generate video. And I literally have an instructor here without me having to film anything. It does take a while though, because, again, this is like AI generated and everything. But just so you know, this is an option. It's perfect if you want something quick. Personally, I would rather film this myself, especially if, you're planning on sending it to your employees. Then you have the audio option, which is, a typical replacement to a podcast. Instead of a 1 hour podcast, you can have quick bits in here. And again, we have the same convert to speech option in here. This is going to be a bit quicker, but let's just leave these alone for a while so that they can load. And I'm going to delete a couple of these in the meantime so that we can have a clear example at the end. And in the meantime, I'm just going to show you kind of what other options you have. So you also have the roleplay option. This works in different scenarios. For example, if you want a quiz, you can have each of these people. Let me show you. You can add the script for each of these people so that you'll have a video. And basically, each person is going to say something. And then the question is something like, which person is right? Which person uses English correctly if you want a language course? Or which person is right about the marketing strategy they're supposed to use? Or you can create a role play with a poll, with a form, with text. So with text, it's just super simple. You literally have a scenario. So for example, if you want a course on how to handle conflict resolution, you can have these two people in here kind of fighting or having an argument, and then you're going to use the text to, give the solution or tell people how they should handle this. So for example, this is great for sales teams or customer support when they need to handle objections and so on. Then you have a submit card. So this is, we get to the part where we are testing them a bit. So besides the quizzes, you can also have them work on a project, for example. It can be different things. So for example, if you're just onboarding someone, you can maybe ask them to share something about themselves or about their expectations with your company. If you have a course, again, for sales teams or for customer support, for instance, this can be just something like them submitting an audio, and then you ask them for something like, how would you handle a scenario like this? So again, a conflict, or a conflict with your client in this case. And then in here you can come in and kind of write the scenario, like, somebody's calling you because they can't find uh, their order on the website or whatever. And then in here, the customer support representative or whoever's handling customer support on your team is going to kind of like give some examples of how they would handle this. And then you, as the instructor or whoever the manager is, should definitely review these as well. And likewise, you have a rate card. Something to keep in mind with each of these cards is that they are very versatile. So if you're creative, you can use them in different ways. Like this in here can be something like, did you like this course? But it can also be something like, how would you rate your skills in leadership or whatever? And then people can come in here and kind of rate themselves. So technically, you could also use these for, self assessments or whatever. Again, like there's so many creative ways of using this. For example, with a thumbs up or thumbs down situation, it can be something like, okay, you've seen this video that presented a specific scenario. Do you think this is a good way of approaching? It can be anything, a marketing strategy, approaching a sales tactic, of tackling, a conversation with a customer and so on. And then you actually have a lot of other cards. So we're actually just going to quickly go through these. So you have the form, which again, remember, you also have under the role play section, which is literally an open-ended question, and people like whatever. And then people come in here and give their thoughts. Then you have a checklist. So this is something I would recommend using all the time. So it's like, okay, we are writing an article. What sections do we need? So it's going to be, the introduction, maybe a hook, maybe some chapters, headings, and so on. Something else, a conclusion, a CTA. So people can use this when, submitting their test article or their next article or whatever, and they can just literally use this, so to say, within the course. But this is also perfect again for onboarding. You can maybe before this have just a list of links with maybe extra reading materials people need to go through during the onboarding time, and then they can use the checklist to make sure they've covered everything. Then you also have like a button. This is just, whatever, literally, but again, you can use it in different scenarios. Now, this is it in terms of the actual elements you can add in the course. But again, this is more than enough because you can be as versatile as you want. And there's another option here, which is the copy in option. And this literally just lets you copy the course you've just created, the micro course on content writing in our case, and then maybe move it into a different course that you want to create. So maybe something a bit more general, like content marketing or so to say. So you don't have to just create these from scratch again. Now, in terms of design, you also have the theme option in here. So this is really just going to let you kind of, edit this super quickly in case you don't want to just manually do it all. I would recommend using this. Definitely. And you can also create your own themes in here and just save them as well with like custom fonts and everything. Now, this example here is a very quick course that we just made so you can see the functionalities, right? But here at the top, you can actually add more chapters. So if you want maybe a bigger course on how to manage your personal brand online as an employee for our company. Again, one course can be on writing, another course can be on managing your social presence, and so on. And finally, we can preview everything, so to say. And I'm literally just going to show you some of these examples so that you can see some extra things from the perspective of the learner. So everything is like super quick to just like go through if you want to, especially because the tool doesn't really allow you to put a lot of content into each card because, that's what microlearning is. The other thing that's important to note is you have in here the quizzes, and if somebody doesn't answer a quiz or just doesn't answer them correctly, they won't be able to move forward. So this means that they need to, go through everything. You also have the video I just showed you
writing to and interests of
in Bulgarian. And then we have the audio file. And then we have just some of the rest. But even with the rating cards, note that people do have to go through everything. So this means that nobody's going to skip anything, if that makes sense. Now, what's important to note is what's hidden here under these three dots. You have the statistics. So this is literally going to show you, first, this is where you share the course. It's, a typical link. You just copy it, send it to whoever's interested. You can also use email, Slack, and just like lots of other options, even SMS if you're interested. But from the statistics section, once you've sent it, you will also be able to see just like general stats on, how many people opened it and so on, as well as hands-on learner statistics. And you also see the responses in here. So this, after you've created the course, the statistics is where you and any HR manager, learning and development manager, anyone who's interested is going to live essentially. So you can go to reset the stats, the quiz stats, for instance, and this will delete the learner scores for all of the quizzes. This might be interesting if you just want a bit more clarity into your stats. I would recommend keeping them as much as possible and maybe just create a duplicate course and use that as opposed to deleting the stats you have. And the tool, again, it works everywhere. So all languages, all cultures, and it's very intuitive, inclusive, accessible. And by the way, there's something like a new European accessibility law that's going to be, the go-to thing pretty much everywhere. So ideally, even these courses that you use with your employees should be accessible from all perspectives. So you do have things like, switching to the right to left type of reading part if that's needed. And of course, with each of these, you can think of, the accessibility needs that you have. Maybe besides the text, have audio as well each time. It depends. And this is it. Of course, you do have some other options, like you can create a whole theme in here. You can manage your learners. You can come in here, add a learner with a name, email, and so on, and just like send the courses straight away to them. Then you can create learning paths if that's, it's a bit more advanced. So how this works is you create a learning path, you decide how you like to send it, and then in here you're going to add the courses that you've just created. For example, the writing course, the marketing course, the whatever, and that's going to be like a complete path. For example, a learning path can be onboarding, or it can be something more specific like onboarding for the sales team, or it can be, upskilling for your marketing team. And you know how we just did everything from scratch? Essentially, you do have a library with a lot of templates, so you can technically just use these. So, for example, if you want cybersecurity training, you're just going to copy one of these courses, whatever is of interest to you, and you have a foundation to start your course. So, it's super easy for anyone, even if this is your first time creating a course. Again, once this is copied, you do go to your home and you're going to find the course in here. Let's just preview this, but you can see it does look great. It has some of the information in here. To some extent, you can just edit this a bit. It depends on what type of course and information you want. Because if it's something basic, like just making sure that your team knows what's okay to share, what's not okay to share, how they can stay safe online, then if it's something simple like that, you can just copy it from the templates. But, I would still recommend always customizing it. And really, this is it. If you have other questions, you can drop me a comment in the section below, but I would also recommend going to, there's a help button in here, the support team, and they will be super quick to answer you. And they only have humans, no bots, because we hate bots in customer support. You will find a link to use the tool in the description below. And I will see you next time. Let me know if you have any other similar tool that you want me to review. There's definitely other tools as well out there, but if you're just getting started, this would be perfect. Have a nice rest of the day.